What if? What if is how this website began. I noticed some numbers that would, in some calculations that I was doing related to the market, that if they were positive, the market tended to open up. If they were negative, the market tended to open down. And it got me started down this path of trying to read the pressure at the end of the trading day in hopes that it correlated to how the market would open that next day. And I've had many successes and I've had many failures through the years. And I ended up with the purple algorithm that ended up doing pretty well, but it was time to upgrade. And I spent the last year working on developing new algorithms, which would allow me to become a better overnight swing trader. Why would I want to be an overnight swing trader? Well, for me, day trading just wasn't right. The temperament, the stress, the ups and downs of day trading just wasn't for me. Maybe it's not for you. And that's why overnight swing trading possibly could be of interest to you, because you may not have the time during the day, but you still want a high risk, high reward style of trading in your life. You want to go beyond what the average ETF does for you or your financial advisor is offering you. You want to take a little bit of that opportunity in your own hands. And overnight swing trading is that type of opportunity. It's kind of in between day trading and long-term swing trading, because you buy at the end of the trading day based on a signal and you sell next morning. And if your signal says up, you may buy calls or an ETF, a positive leveraged ETF, such as the TQQQ. But if your signal said down, maybe you buy the SQQQ, which would actually make money if the market went down, or you could buy puts, options. And it's important to know how to use options before you do anything like this. It's important to actually paper trade a little bit before you actually try this type of trading. Now, I own a website now that is called spytomorrow.com. And its design is to offer you insight into how the market might open the next day based on the pressure at the end of the trading day. Now, we have a few things we have to look for. Of course, news. News could change at any time. News could change the mood of the market, positive or negative. And that's why sometimes, and there are best practices. And that's really what I'm going to share with you today. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm somebody who developed a tool. And so you're going to have to discover your way of using this information, but I'm going to share best practices that you can use or not use to support your effort to what we call take advantage or trade the overnight gap. The overnight gap is, you see the market close at one point and it opens up either up or down the next day. Well, that's the gap between the movement between the close and that open, and that is tradable. And that's what we're trading. But the question is it going to be a big gap, a little gap? Is it going to be up, down? There are many factors that help us understand if we want to be more aggressive or conservative in the type of trade that we want to place. What you see here is something that members would see within Spy Tomorrow, but I want you to know Spy Tomorrow is available for free. The up or down signal is available to everyone for free at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. And this new update actually is still in the labs section. As you can see right here, it's in the C lab, and it will be available probably in the coming days. And so there's a different algorithm that's showing right now on the front page. It's actually this one right here, the CV7. So for the 20th, we had a neutral call. But as you can see, things are rather bearish overall. And we'll get into details in the future videos about what all these mean. These are shorter term, these are longer term. What do I mean by that? Again, we'll get into these details on how to read and how we can consider these readings for our overnight trade. But as you can see here, it's very bearish and today was bearish. Let's take a look. So on the front page of spytomorrow, you can see it was neutral. It's officially a neutral call, and the chart was bearish. It was a big down start to the day. We did very well because I had that information and I used it. And I bought puts, actually bought IWM puts, not necessarily SPY. You don't have to trade SPY. You can just use the SPY signal and trade anything you feel maybe follows suit with SPY in general. But let's take a look and see what the 16th was. 16th was down, and here we go. This is down. Mostly was a down day. So that was what the old algorithm said, and we actually did okay. We were patient and we waited till it went down in the first half hour. And that's what we generally do. The first half hour is our trading zone, our traditional trading zone, and that's what this line represents. So if it doesn't initially go our way, we will often be patient as long as there are enough signals. Again, some signals I can show you within spytomorrow in the future videos. But let's see what the new algorithm showed us. It said bullish with a weak support. So this is kind of the 9C is kind of the big money. So actually, it was pretty right on. This is what everybody else saw. This is the CV7. It said bearish, and it ended up being bearish as the day went on. But the initial said start up and then slowly go down. And again, that's what we got. Let's check a different day. This is very bullish all the way through, very solid. And this is kind of a illustration of how that morning might go. And we can see that the CV7 was neutral, so it was called a neutral day for this family. Again, what a family is, I'll share in future videos. But let's take a look at what the result was. And the 15th, again, this is on the front page of spytomorrow. Click. And yeah, solid up. Just like we predicted. So let's take a look at the Thursday. And the Thursday looks very bullish. And we had bullish all the way across with all three with good support. Let's take a look and see what happened. And here we are, very bullish, solid all the way through, all the way to our 30-minute and well beyond. Let's check out one more. Very bearish. So, very bearish all the way through. This is the 14th, and there we are, very bearish. Now, I don't want to give you the idea that it's correct every day. That's 4 days in a row in which I had all of the data. When we get news, things change. Sometimes there are government reports. Sometimes there are political statements. Sometimes there's a war breaking out on the other side of the world that could change the mood of the market. But it gives you a good sense. And not only that, we do have ways to measure if it could be a strong move overnight or a weak move overnight. That's important because if it's a weak move, options may not be a good choice. If, say, you're in the middle of the summer and there's just not a lot of pressure behind it, it may open the right direction, but you could still lose money because of what is referred to as overnight time decay or theta. And if that's the case, you could be right day after day after day and still sit there wondering, why am I losing? And that's because the market didn't move enough for options. And that's why it's good to understand when to use options. And that's why I'm sharing best practices here with you. I'm not a financial advisor. I am somebody who created a tool. And I'm here to support you with the best practices. And I highly recommend that you paper trade and test this out to see if it's right for you. Again, overnight swing trading is high risk, high reward. As an example, with this down pressure, I bought on Friday a IWM put. A little bit out of the money. It was not that much money. But when I sold it this morning, Tuesday, it was a nice down. And I made about 300% on that specific trade. But some trades can lose all the money. And so you have to weigh it, and understanding that hey, if you're in a situation where the market could easily change, for example, if news is possibly going to change the mood overnight because we're in a really volatile situation, it might be appropriate to hedge. In other words, protect yourself. Something else we'll talk about in future videos, because there is a time to hedge, a best time to hedge, and a time that it's just not practical because the market's not moving enough, as I've mentioned before, for options. So maybe you'll want to try either stock or a leveraged ETF, among other opportunities. Now, for many people, you'll just look right here on the front page of SpyTomorrow, and at 4 o'clock, this will show the up or down signal. And it's currently based on the 7B indicator, either up or down. Eventually, it'll be the 7TB, but right now, it's the 7B. And you have one indicator that's one of the strongest ones that says up or down. Now, no, you don't have the full picture, but I often recommend that you don't chase signals. But you can have support signals. So you can use this as one of your signals for whatever type of trading that you do. If it's overnight swing trading, but maybe you're a longer term trader, or maybe you're just kind of wondering, should I be prepared to sell in the morning, or maybe should I just play it safe and sell maybe a longer term position tonight because it looks like it could be a rough day the next day, so I might as well not take that risk. These are decisions you can make based on the knowledge of what the pressure is at the end of this trading day. For members, there is a simple member page where you can see the signal, which was officially neutral, although the updated version showed negative, which we just showed you. But you can see this is based off of the CV7B, which I said this the CV7TB, I know it can be kind of confusing, is actually going to be the new one. But you could have the fear gauge. Now, we're in the middle of this trading day, and that fear gauge, wow, that's pretty solid. Now, last Friday, it was like in the 80s. This is like all the way to the edge, 2 o'clock on the Tuesday afternoon. I've never seen the fear gauge that high. Now, I've only had this fear gauge here for so long, so only so much to compare it to, but it's a good indication. And then I also have an AI observation mode, and you just click here, and then you can see right here, this is a very simple best practice guide for overnight swing trading, just for folks who want a little refresher. It's very simple. And then there's a dashboard for those who want a little more information, such as the tension within the market, the GX ratio, the pressure gap, the volatility. These are all things that I might want to consider. What kind of switch are we in? Gamma switch negative, meaning it's more volatile. Now again, on Friday, the official was neutral, and that's okay. People, when it's neutral, we recommend the best practice is not to buy or sell anything for that long weekend. So hopefully people listen to that and, no, they didn't make money on the down, but they didn't lose money, which is a lot of times, well, that's half the battle. You want to maximize your gains and minimize your losses. And sometimes minimizing your losses means making the decision not to trade at all. And that's what this dashboard is for. As you can see, the extreme fear gauge is going right now. This one is updated all the time. This one is still most of the signals from the night before. I think this one is the volatility is continuously updated throughout the day, but these other numbers are still stuck until it's ready to show the next day's data. And one thing I like to do is put in a video on how to use these different dashboards. I created this dashboard for me. These are the things I want to know before I make a trade. But you can go to the engine, which is also available from the member page, and this is where we started before. As you can see, there's not as many numbers as there were on the other version that will be coming up. This again was the current reading, overall negative, neutral, a lot of negative signs for the overall reading. There are 15 algorithms that this one's reading. The new one has 21 with some upgrades that I think are really smart and seem to be working well. And again, if you want to go deeper, here's the engine that gives you a little bit of more insight of how these different engines work and what they're measuring. So I've come a long way in all these years in developing my pressure reading system, and it's gotten much better. And I have even gotten better at trading in my own personal trading, and that's been a big part of it. I've won and I've lost through the years as I've tested different algorithms. I like to actually trade these algorithms with real money. If I'm going to put it out there into the public and say, hey, here's a good option to consider for overnight pressure, I want to test it. And some of them did not work very well. Some of them broke over time, and I didn't understand why. Now I understand much better how these inner workings happen and change and adjust in different types of markets, which makes me a better programmer because of that knowledge. But it's taken all these years for me to fully understand all of the elements. One reason why it worked so well in the beginning and I was able to see these patterns is because we were in a very negative gamma market, because this was the beginning of COVID. And COVID went, and it was just very easy to see these numbers, and it did really well, and I did well. But then eventually, as the market calmed down, some of my algorithms started to break, and I didn't know why. And it took a while for me to figure out why. And I discovered a lot of elements along the way, and I think I've fixed a lot of that along the way. But this is always a learning environment, and there's always something new to learn to become a better overnight swing trader. There is an advantage for day trading, and that is that at the end of the trading day, you're out. You're out of the market, and you can sleep well at night because of that. And that's fine for some people. But, you learn about position sizing and reading the market and, what type of market. Is it a positive gamma, negative gamma market? And those different types of markets can give you a clue as to what type of trade you want to make and how conservative you want to be with your trade, how aggressive you want to be with your trade. Do you want to hedge your trade? There are many things to learn. And as we expand in this series of videos, I'm going to get into those types of things, these best practices that can support you in your process. And let me tell you, being able to just make one trade a day, buy at the end of the trading day, sell in the morning. And not only that, you can automatically sell in the morning if you want. So it could be just one thing you do. End of the trading day, look at your signal, maybe the spytomorrow signal along with other signals, and decide what you're going to do. And then just say it's automatically going to sell at 9:31 Eastern time in the morning or 9:45. Sometimes you'll want to look at trends. Sometimes trends show that the market starts low, closer to the zero mark and works its way as it gets, say, closer to 11 o'clock. In those situations, I've done well just by setting my sell signal or my order automatically at, say, 10:45 or 11 o'clock. Sometimes I just sell it automatically at the open in some markets, and in many markets, I do it by hand. But, I've gotten a little bit better over time, but it's still kind of day trading. And when you're selling, those emotions are what we're trying to avoid. And that's one of the things I like about overnight swing trading. Because one of the number one things in which, leads traders to failure is emotion. And because of that, you just buy at the end of the trading day and there's nothing you can do. You can't sabotage it. You can only sell the next morning. And yes, you can make mistakes the next morning, but if you're too emotional, again, you automatically sell at a certain time. So it helps reduce one of the number one things that, again, brings traders to failure. Overnight swing trading can be just one part of your portfolio, but I do say it should only be a small part of your portfolio. Don't trade your entire IRA this way. you should, even a best practice is have your own designated high risk portfolio, a portfolio that's not going to put you in ruins if you lose it all. Because you can lose it all if you're not a very good trader or very disciplined. This is still high risk, high reward trading. And that's why, once again, and you'll hear me say it often, paper trade it first. See how you react. Look at your signals, whether it's the spytomorrow signal, another signal such as maybe a put to call ratios or the MACD or the RSI. There are many different signals, technical signals that you could use to support your decision how you're going to play the overnight gap. And you can, a lot of research, and there are many ways you can approach it. And you have many decisions that you can make, such as the types of trades you make, the ratio trades. Is it a 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 4-to-1 ratio? Do you any ratio at all, just directional? Do you trade options? Do you trade ETFs, leverage ETFs, stock? Again, all those things are up to you. But one thing I do recommend is that you always you be consistent. Again, don't chase signals, and be consistent in the way you trade, and use a notebook and make note of what you're doing. And if you notice a pattern of some sort, well, then maybe you can make an adjustment, but it needs to be a mindful adjustment, not a reactionary adjustment. You want to be as consistent as possible. Chasing things around just will not work. That emotional side of things is what's going to, again, lead you to failure. So, if you start to notice that, hey, on certain types of trading days, or there are certain signals, for example, if you notice the best days to trade for you are when the market pressure gap is high, then do it. Then those are the days you trade. If it's neutral, whatever the signal may be, you know what? You just may not trade at all. If the fear gauge is really high, you may just say, okay, when it's above 80, I'm going to point down, and it's eventually probably going to get there. But do that based off of your experience, not guesses. And that's why I created these dashboards. It really does help me understand what I need to know to make a good trading decision so I can be profitable overnight. So I hope you enjoyed this initial kind of introductory video about what overnight swing trading is, and the introduction to spytomorrow, why I created it, and how I have found it helpful. And if you have questions, put them in the comments. I'll do my best. I can't tell you how to trade, but I can certainly guide you to the information that'll help you become a better overnight swing trader. I'll see you in the next video.